Welcome to Black History All-Stars, and to part one of this video documentary on Gil Scott-Heron, whom, as you will soon see, was a man of many talents. He was a poet, writer, pianist, singer, songwriter, activist, musical innovator, a true influencer, educator, Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. This is the story of Gil Scott-Heron, a man whose music transcended genres and whose words echoed the hopes, dreams, struggles, and pains of so many. In the heart of Chicago on the first day of April 1949, a voice was born that would resonate through the streets, over the airwaves, and into the hearts of many. Early life, the makings of a bluesologist. Gilbert Scott-Heron was born to Bobby Scott and Gil Heron. His mother was an opera singer who performed with the Oratorio Society of New York. His father, Gil Heron, was a Jamaican soccer player. A trailblazer in his own right, he became the first black player to play for Celtic FC in Glasgow, Scotland. His early exposure to music and literature laid the groundwork for his profound expression. But it was not just art that shaped him. It was also the era's social unrest that molded his voice. Jackson, Tennessee, the town, like much of America, was a battleground for civil rights and social justice. The era was marked by a struggle against deeply entrenched racial segregation and discrimination. In Tennessee, the legacy of slavery and racial segregation cast a long shadow over the African American community. Although not as pervasive as in the Deep South, the state, including Jackson, was rife with racial tension. The Jim Crow laws enforced a separate but equal doctrine that was anything but equal. In 1962, while attending Tigrit Junior High School, Gil Scott-Heron endured daily racial hostility as one of only 3 African-American students selected to integrate the school. It was during this tumultuous period that he completed his initial collection of poetry, a reflection of his experiences at the young age of 12. In a sense, these harsh realities helped Gil Scott-Heron to find his voice and his purpose. His music and poetry would later reflect the pain, hope, and resilience of a community yearning for change. The meeting, the formation of a musical alliance. In the year 1969, amidst the echoes of civil rights marches and the soulful surge of jazz, 2 young men crossed paths at Lincoln University. Gil Scott-Heron, a 20-year-old writer and musician with a voice ripe with promise, and Brian Jackson, a 17-year-old pianist with a vision for the future of music. It was here, within the halls of academia, that a bond was formed over shared passions and a common goal to use their music as a tool for change. Brian's keys and Gil's words became the foundation of a partnership that would influence the sound of soul, jazz, and the burgeoning genre of rap. Together, they created a sound that was both reflective and revolutionary. Albums like Winter in America and Pieces of a Man were not just collections of songs, but messages etched in melody and rhythm. The collaboration between Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson was more than a meeting of musical minds. It was a confluence of cultural streams that would ripple outwards, touching countless lives and shaping the future of music. Gil Scott wrote his first novel, The Vulture, in 1970 while he was still a student, showcasing his early talent for storytelling and his ability to weave complex social issues into engaging narratives. The novel is considered a significant work that offers insight into the conditions that would later inspire much of Scott-Heron's music and poetry. It's a fast-paced thriller set in Lower Manhattan and delves into the rhythms of the street life where getting high is seen as the biggest deal life has to offer. The story unfolds through the perspectives of 4 men who knew the protagonist, John Lee, a teenage boy whose murder is the central mystery of the novel. Gil Scott-Heron secured his first record deal with Flying Dutchman Records, a jazz label, after the release of his first novel, The Vulture, when he was 20 years old. The founder of the label, Bob Thiele, who had previously worked with jazz greats like John Coltrane and had written the hit What a Wonderful World, was impressed by Scott-Heron's talent. Thiele reached out to him, leading to the recording of his debut album. In 1970, with Thiele's production assistance, Scott-Heron recorded his debut album, Small Talk, at 125th and Lenox at RCA Studios. This album was a spoken-word version backed by percussionists and marked the beginning of his illustrious recording career. This deal set the stage for Scott-Heron's influential work, blending poetry and music to address social and political issues of the time. Small Talk at 125th and Lenox was well received by music critics for its imaginative material and has been described as a volcanic upheaval of intellectualism and social critique by AllMusic editor John Bush. Gil Scott-Heron's second album, Pieces of a Man, marked the beginning of his collaboration with Brian Jackson. Released in 1971, this album was a departure from the spoken word style of his debut and featured a full band, with Jackson on piano and arrangements. It included the seminal track, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, which has since become an iconic piece of social commentary. The collaboration between Scott-Heron and Jackson proved to be a powerful and enduring musical partnership. They went on to create more albums together, blending jazz, soul, and blues with lyrical poetry that addressed social and political issues. Their work together is characterized by a deep understanding of each other's strengths, with Scott-Heron's poignant lyrics and vocal delivery complemented by Jackson's musical arrangements and keyboard playing. Pieces of a Man received critical acclaim and is considered one of his most influential works. Critics praised the album for its poignant lyrics and fusion of jazz, blues, and soul. The Guardian gave it a perfect score, highlighting Scott-Heron's intellectual and musical flexibility. Pitchfork and AllMusic both gave it a score of 90, with AllMusic noting that the album is just as powerful today as it was upon its release. On the Billboard charts, Pieces of a Man entered the top jazz albums chart on June 2, 1973, peaking at number 25 and remaining on the chart for 6 weeks until July 7, 1973. This modest chart success reflects the album's impact within the jazz and soul genres, and its legacy has only grown over time, influencing the development of electronic dance music and hip-hop. In 1972, Gil began teaching literature and creative writing as a full-time lecturer at Federal City College, now known as University of the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. He continued in this role for several years while also maintaining his music career. That same year, he published his second book titled The NR Factory. This work is a powerful and scathing critique of the American education system, particularly as it relates to the experiences of Black students in historically Black colleges and universities. Winter in America is a seminal album by Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson, released in May 1974. This album stands out as a profound expression of the African-American experience during the 1970s, with themes that delve into social justice, racism, politics, and personal struggles. It was recorded at D&B Sound Studio in Silver Spring, Maryland, and marked the duo's debut release for Strata East Records after leaving Flying Dutchman Records. The album's stripped-down production relied on traditional African and R&B sounds, while Jackson's piano-based arrangements were rooted in jazz and blues. The music and lyrics on Winter in America reflect the inner city's life and the broader African-American community's challenges during that era. Upon its release, Winter in America featured limited distribution and quickly became rare in print. However, it achieved considerable commercial success, thanks in part to the promotional help from its only single, The Bottle. The album debuted at number 6 on Billboard's Top Jazz Albums chart and eventually sold over 300,000 copies in the United States. Critically, Winter in America was initially overlooked, but it earned retrospective acclaim from several writers and music critics who hailed it as Scott-Heron's and Jackson's greatest work together. The BBC Review described the album as Scott-Heron's most complete and compelling album, emphasizing the great partnership between him and Jackson. It has been noted for its influence on derivative music forms such as neo-soul and hip-hop, as many artists in these genres have been influenced by Scott-Heron's and Jackson's lyrical and musical approach on the album. Winter in America is not just an album, it's a historical document that captures the stilted hopes and aspirations in post-Watergate and Vietnam War mid-70s America. It remains an affecting work that continues to resonate with listeners today. Stay tuned for the next installment of this story, where we will cover the rest of his life, along with the influence he has had on the generations that have come after him. I will post a link above once it becomes available.